afternoon, viewers, and welcome to another episode of Budget in Focus. I am Kellen Rover, and here with me this afternoon we have Minister of Agriculture, the Honorable Zulfikar Mustapha. Minister, thank you so much for being here this afternoon.
Thank you for inviting me on your program, and I am very happy to share some of the program in the Ministry of Agriculture with your audience out there.
Excellent. So, Minister, before we go into this year's budget, could you speak about some of the major activities we see happening last year?
So last year was a very eventful year for us in the Ministry of Agriculture. The year started out well when we had a budget of $22.6 billion that were allocated for the agriculture sector. But then you know that what we were faced with last year, we were faced with the most devastating flood in the history of our country. And almost 90% of the agriculture sector were affected and in every single region of our country. And today I am seeing, and this is not a prejudiced views coming out from the Minister of Agriculture, but anyone could see that the agriculture sector is once again thriving because the work the government would have done over time. And a number of programs we would have completed last year to enhance this important sector. That is why when you look at budget 2022 and you look at the review that Minister Dr. Ashley Singh would have mentioned in it, the contraction in the agriculture sector was minimal in terms of the flood that we have suffered, we would have suffered that time. And also, you remember we are in a pandemic too, and that is affecting the agriculture sector in terms of production and productivity. So last year, I think that was a fairly eventful year for us in the agriculture sector. We could have achieved more because I think that coming out from the emergency budget that we had in 2020, and last year was a full year's budget for us, I think we could have achieved more, but then the agriculture sector was severely affected by the flood that we have had, and it has caused serious problem in the main productive sector. The sector like the rice and sugar sector, the other crop sector, those are the three main sectors that had contracted. Nevertheless, we have seen remarkable growth in the other sector, in the livestock sector. We have seen tremendous growth, although we would have lost thousands of animals in the flood. The sector was able to rebound back because of the policies and some of the programs and the intervention the government would have made in terms of bringing relief to farmers. We have also seen a rebound back in the fishing sector, where the fishing sector grew the latter part of the year. And that show that the programs that we started after the flood and the kind of relief that we brought to the population and the stakeholder would have been the reason that we have seen these growth in this sector. And also the rice sector contributes significantly, notwithstanding thousands of acres of land were inundated by the flood. Thousands of acres of rice were lost. Nevertheless, we were able to produce and export, and I think that the rice sector would have brought in substantial revenue into the country.
Right. Thank you so much, Minister. And this year we're seeing some $28.7 billion being pumped into the food sector. And this is some 16% increase from last year. Could you say how you came up with this figure, and how will this money be spent this year?
So first of all, I want to just touch on budget 2022 as a whole.
Right.
I think that this is one of the best budget I ever witnessed, so to speak. This budget is transformative. This budget is comprehensive, and this budget will be the budget that will transform or start the transformation of the building the future Guyana, what we want to see. Because there are so many transformative projects in this year's budget. And not only in the agriculture sector, in a number of other sectors, in the health sector, in the education sector, in the public works sector, you could see in every single sector and in every section of society, this budget offer hope and offer something for. So budget 2022 is a budget that will start the transformation, is a transformative budget. Policies, as I said earlier in one of the programs, this continue the trajectory that is set out in the PPPC's manifesto to transform Guyana, to transform the policies and program in 2022 budget are people-centered, people-oriented to achieve maximum production and productivity. So budget 2022 is a comprehensive package, a transformative package that will impact on people's life. And when you look at the budget and you look at the number of sectors and you look at some of the intervention that government will be making in 2022, I think that this will help the standard of living of Guyanese to improve a lot for this year. Now, coming back to the agriculture sector is one of the most important sectors for us in the country. Although we are, as I've been saying this at a number of forums across the country, although we are now an emerging island gas producing country, and we depend that a lot of revenue will be coming in from this sector. But this budget is not only about island gas. This budget is about building sectors and ensuring that we have a country that is resilient, a country that will depend not only on the island gas sector, but a country that will build a multi-sectorial approach. Right. So budget 2022 offer us the hope that the Guyana will move from where it is now to start the transformation process, as I said. And as you rightly said, we have seen an increase over the last year's budget by 16%. That show that our government, the PPP civic government, we are taking and we recognize the importance of the agriculture sector. And not for one moment we will neglect this sector, because we know for a fact that this sector is important for us to ensure that we have food security, first of all nationally and then regionally. And today, when Guyana is playing that leading role in terms of driving the agri-food system in CARICOM, then agriculture for us in Guyana is very important. And I'm very happy as the Minister of Agriculture that we have had this allocation of $28.7 billion. Last year would have been 24.8 billion. This year it's $28.7 billion. So you've seen an increase of 16%. And from the time we assumed government in 2020, we have always seen an increased allocation to the agriculture sector. Unlike the previous government, the APNU AFC government, in 2019, their last budget in office, we have seen a decline of budget of the allocation that they allocated to the agriculture sector by about $3 billion from 2017 figure. So you could see which administration recognized the importance of these things. And as a government, we are working diligently with all stakeholders to improve this sector. As I said, we are not only going in the traditional areas, the traditional crop which we are consolidating, but we are also embarking now diversify. We are embarking on non-traditional crops. And then later on in your interview, I will talk about some of the non-traditional areas that we are embarking on. So I think that this year's figure, this year's allocation in the agriculture sector, we'll see that the agriculture sector will rebound, the agriculture sector will improve, and I think, and I'm very optimistic that the various sectors within the rice sector, the sugar sector, the other crop sector will have increased production and will have improved production and productivity in these areas.
Thank you so much, Minister. Now, let's go into the subsectors. For instance, Gaisuku, we see that there is a $6 billion being pumped into Gaisuku this year to turn around operations there. Could you speak to some of the things that you have planned for the industry?
Well, as a government, we will always recognize the importance of Gaisuku. As I have always been saying, that Gaisuku is not only about producing sugar. Gaisuku is an entity, we must look at Gaisuku as a national entity. Gaisuku plays so many important roles in our country. And like the previous government, when they were very they display tunnel vision, looking at Gaisuko as a primary producer of sugar alone and finish with it. And that is why they would have closed all these estates. They didn't look at the social impact. That is why, as a party, when we were in opposition, we said that they should conduct an economic impact study to see what repercussion the closure of these estates. They never listened to us. And we have seen places where these estates were situated, these factories were situated, places like Wales, Rose Hall, Enmore, Skeldon, those estates. We have seen the problems, the social problems in these areas. Like what was stated in the budget, the Minister of Finance said that as a government, we recognize the importance of Gaisuku and we will continue to support Gaisuku so that Gaisuku can improve. I have mentioned earlier just now that the flood have caused severe impact on Gaisuku's production last year. We have seen Gaisuku produce about approximately 58,000 tons last year from a target they set about 80,000 tons. But that was caused by the flood. What we intend to do, because also Gaisuku's investment were neglected over the years, over the last 5 years from 2015 to 2020. That is why we now have to put money continuously in Gaisuku to rehabilitate the factories, to ensure that we replace major parts that were worn out and that was not working. As a matter of fact, when we took over in government, Gaisuku estates, Gaisuku factories were working about 40 to 45%. Now we are improving that. And over time, we'll have to do that. We'll have to also enhance the field, right? Crop husbandry in the field so that we can have better yield. And all those things were neglected. So this $6 billion here will be used primarily to improve the three operating estates, the three operating factories, to put in critical capital parts in these factories, to enhance its capacity so that we can have better extraction of the juice and from the cane and these things, so that will up production level, that will up sugar production level. And also in the field, we can do critical crop husbandry work, that those ensure canals are done properly, ensuring that the canes have fertilizer on time and those things. So when you prepare and you do those work in the field, then you will have better yields per acre, and you'll have to take less tons of cane to produce a ton of sugar, and you'll have more production. So as a government, we are looking also to diversify some of Gaisuku's operation. We have already had some of the estate. We have already have expression of interest, and we are working with them. And we have the new boards of directors with new management working together to enhance production. We will continue to support Gaisuku, first of all, to break even, and then towards profitability. What Gaisuku will be doing also this year, they will be increasing production in terms of packaged sugar and bag sugar, instead of producing more bulk sugar, because those are more lucrative. You have more, you will have more money for these sugar, these value-added sugar that I am talking about, so that Gaisuku can continue to make increase their revenue. So all those plans are in line this year, and we will see a number of critical work done at Gaisuku. Also, I want to make this point that we would have seen or witnessed over 5,000 sugar workers that were dismissed by the previous government. Now, we have already employed approximately over 1,300 of those sugar workers back. They are back on the job. We have given all those sugar workers whose services were terminated $250,000. That was a commitment we made, and we have delivered on that. So all these commitments and promises that we would have made in the manifesto, and when I look especially in the agriculture sector, we have delivered on a number of those commitments already, And I said, now when you look at the various sectors, and you look at the agriculture sector and look at the other sectors, productive sectors, I think now Guyana transformation will move apace, and we'll have as I said, this year will be the year that will be marked as the year that the transformation, the new Guyana, have started.
Thank you so much, Minister. And moving ahead with production, we see that there is a large sum that was put aside for the corn and soya beans production. We know that initiative will be advanced this year.
Yeah. So that is a non-traditional crop.
Right.
And as a government, good governance, you always look at ways to improve as country standing. As a country, we normally import close to about 60 million, both in corn and soya annually for the feed industry, the proteins for the feed industry. Well, with the foresight of His Excellency, I think we have had a number of discussions, and we have formed a consortium partner with a consortium, a group of businessmen, and we are now developing lands in the Tacoma Savannah. Our aim is to ensure that we be self-sufficient for it. So we have started last year a trial crop, a trial plot, and I think the trial went very well. 100, almost 200 acres of corn and soya were tried last year. That will improve this year. We are looking to improve that just around 2,500 acres, right? And then we have already started the construction of a road there, 18.5 kilometer road. We have had money budgeted this year again to complete that road. So we'll make about 47 kilometer of road. $887 million have been budgeted in the corn and soya to improve that production. We'll also construct this year silos so that the group there can have that facility to drying facility. So all these things we are making in preparation. Over the next 4 years, over the next 3 years, we are looking to reach a total of 56,000 acres so that we can be self-sufficient, and at the same time, 2 crops per year, we can be an exporter of this here. So this here alone, you could see the foresight of the government. You could see where we are going. We are not putting all our eggs in one basket where we saying that, okay, we continue the traditional crops and not go into the non-traditional crops or go into new crops. We as a government, we are looking at these crops to ensure that we continue to consolidate what we have and we embark on new crops. So the corn and soya is a big thing, and I am hoping that we will be self-sufficient in another few years from now, and also we will make a valuable contribution, because if you look at the agenda of CARICOM, because you know now our president is the lead spokesperson on agriculture in CARICOM, and based on his proposal that was accepted by the CARICOM conference heads of government, we now have a ministerial task force, and that ministerial task force is chaired by Guyana, and in that task force we are looking to up food production in the Caribbean, in the region, and we have a target to reduce food import by 25% in 2025. And as long if we want to achieve that target, then Guyana will have to play that important role. That is why we are embarking on all these production, because we recognize that Guyana has that potential to push and move the system forward.
Minister, continuing, we see that the president would have launched the Agriculture and Innovation Entrepreneurship Program, and this will be focusing on high value crops. We know for a fact that some of the shade houses are now under construction. Could you speak more about this program, how this will help the youths?
So this is another innovative way of thinking.
Right.
We don't sit down. As I said, that the idea, the brainchild of His Excellency, the President. We have a president who thinks. And this show the government's commitment to bring new things, to embark on new things that I was saying just now. We have all these young people, these young graduates who would have came out of the Guyana School of Agriculture, who would have came out from the University of Guyana, and other young people around the country. Now, we have seen how much Guyana have been importing of these high-value crops that you just mentioned. Last year alone, we have imported almost close to about $2.6 billion in these crops. So the president launched this program. And this show, because remember, not so long ago, you can remember, and I believe you would remember, not so long ago, young people were told that they can go on a business and start the cook-up rice business, the pepper sauce business, and the breadfruit. You remember that story, right? So we want people where people can make a contribution to the country. Now, if you as a country is importing $2.6 billion, and that will grow, because the oil and gas industry alone, you'll have a number of people coming on, and demands will increase. We'll have more hotels being set up in the country, and then demands will increase. So the $2.6 billion that we imported last year, that will increase this year. So that is why we set up, and the president rightly set up this initiative. We have started the program. $100 million have been allocated for this program. In the first instance, he has made a commitment that we'll provide 25 shade houses for the young people. We'll work with them around the country, not only in Region 4. As a matter of fact, a few days back, I went to the first shade house that started in Manripo, and I have had a discussion with a number of young people there, and the president indicated that this program will be launched across this country. So we have the $100 million, and this will be used to enhance this program. I think that this will help young people right across this country. This will be an industry by itself. Let me be very frank here, because this is these crops are very lucrative. It has ready market in the country, and not only in Guyana. When you have excess, you could export overseas, because right now also we are looking to remove barriers that are affecting produce from our country to go into different parts of the Caribbean. And I think that we are getting there, because we are working with our counterpart. I have been working with my counterpart around the Caribbean, and to reduce and remove these barriers. And because of that, we are moving the process forward. And not only the traditional crops that we will be exporting to, these high-value crops, as long as we have excess, we can export in the Caribbean. And this will help the young people to enhance their position. They'll have a job, right? They can do this as a part-time job too. They don't, who are working and they want to start this production, they can do it as a part-time job, because this is not a job that you can do full-time. You want to do full-time too. Right. So this here show another way how the government is pushing initiative to enhance the position of our population.
All right. Minister, let's speak about the Fisheries Department now. What are some of the initiatives that would be, some of the activities that you would have happened in the Fisheries Department for this year, and some of the major benefits for the Guyanese population? So
the fishing industry, we have heard over the last few months that they were complaining that the catches are low. Fishermen are not able to get the amount of catches, and so many of them would have already they are taking a long time to go back to sea, and because of this, many of them are suffering. And so
that's a global.
It's a global phenomenon, right? It's a global phenomenon, as you rightly said. We have this kind of climate change taking place, and fishes are moving different parts of the ocean and things like that. But as a government, again, we are not sitting down waiting for things to happen. We are making things happen. First of all, last year we started a program. If we are having problem with our marine catches, we are looking also to develop our aquaculture industry. Now we have this year, we've started a program last year where the president set up an aquaculture committee, and yours truly is heading in that committee. We started a program with the brackish water shrimp in Region 6. We had the first phase, we had 70 shrimp farmers who had their pond there, subsistence pond. We worked with them, and we were able to develop 65 already of those 70 ponds. Now the immediate target was to increase production from 250 kilogram to 500 kilogram. I think we have already achieved that. Yeah. I think we have already achieved that. Now the next phase is to complete another 70, right? And that we have $235 million in the budget this year to continue that program. That will provide critical support for the rural population in those communities. Already we are seeing the effect in those areas where we see production level have increased tremendously. If you go to the markets where those shrimps are selling, now you see in the morning you have large production coming out. You have a ready market for it already, and now we are seeing that some large farmers want to put in start processing plants, right? So that they can now get ready market, these farmers. We have already seen that a number of people have already been employed, right, in these areas. This will continue. This will continue, and this year we'll continue to increase the number of ponds. We'll continue to ensure that we give the kind of critical support in terms of infrastructural development. So I am very, very optimistic that production level this year will surpass far above the 500,000 kilogram that we talk about. And I think that will increase tremendously. In the marine fishing industry, we have seen the low catches, but we are not saying that we will not do anything. We have seen $200 million have been allocated, and what we are doing now, we will be doing a new thing. We will start the marine cage, right? We'll help fisher folks with marine cage, and that's a very, very lucrative job around the world. When you look at the basic calculation, a marine cage could earn annually minimum $8 million. $8 million. So we'll be starting that this year. I'll be having discussion shortly with the fisher folks around the country. The president have already indicated his intention. As a matter of fact, he publicly stated that we'll start it this year. We are looking now to source these cage. We will continue the discussion through the Fisheries Department, and we'll have $200 million allocated for the fishing. This will enhance our fishing industry, whilst at the same time we are seeing improvement in the catches. In the last half of the year, we have seen improvement, and we are working with all the stakeholders to improve and increase production in this industry. This is very, very important for us, because over the years we have seen the fishing industry, the important role the fishing industry played in our country. Although it's bringing in foreign exchange, foreign revenue, it's the cheapest form of proteins for our population too. So we'll continue to make investment in the fishing industry, and these initiatives that we'll start this year will enhance the fishing industry and also benefit the fishing folks and the stakeholder in the fishing industry.
Right, and might I add, Minister, the President also stated too that even to persons living in the hinterland communities.
Yes, well, we're talking about the aquaculture, so we'll continue to do that, and as long as you got those areas that you rightly talk about, the rivers in the hinterland areas, the water running, we'll have these marine cage in those areas too, and that will enhance people's life across the country.
Right. So we can turn our attention now to drainage and irrigation. We know that this is a very significant subsector within the agriculture ministry.
Yes, and I know that we have $13 billion allocated for the D&I this year. This will be a continuation of what we started last year, as I mentioned earlier in your on the program, that we have seen an increased allocation over the years. Last year we would have had this devastating floods that we had, and we have started some serious work in terms of D&I across the country, and we'll continue with that this year. What we want to do, we want to ensure that we have drainage operate effectively. So that means some area you have sluices, some area you have pumps. And there are a number of canals that continuously we have to do maintenance with. There are also new areas that we are opening up where we'll build new canals. So all this $13 million, we'll see pumps, $100 million allocated, $1 billion allocated to purchase mobile pumps so that we can put in various vulnerable parts in the country. Another, we will be purchasing this year 100 of those these tractor pumps that were used in the last flood, across the country. And what I'll be doing, we'll be giving these to the NDCs so that they will have their own pumps. So they can start immediately when they have issues in their area. So this will enhance the drainage capacity this year. So the D&I will have more pumps, we'll have more equipments, we'll have more canals clean, more as I said, more drainage facility will be available. This year also we'll see about 4 new pumping station being built that has started last year. Places like Adventure on the Quarantine, Blackbush Polder. We have places in right here in Region 3, Barnwell, we have places, Andrews in Essequibo, and Cottage here on the east coast of Demerara. Those are areas that we have construction have started to build new pumps. You know, the last government, I mentioned it in the parliament, the last government would have purchased pumps from India and they purchased defective pumps. Now we are trying to recoup our money that they have paid and we are trying to get those pumps fixed. So the DNI system, as I said, we will see massive improvement. As a result of that also, we have seen $320 million being allocated to the rice industry, right? And that will enhance, first of all, we will continue to do the research, we will continue to enhance the capacity in the rice industry to improve yield, to look at doing research, improve yield, enhance the lab, enhance the seed facility. This year we'll complete the seed facility, a new seed facility in Blackbush Polder. We'll build new drying. Last year we would have built 4 new drying floors. This year we'll continue that trend. So you'll see an increase in these facilities around the country. You know, as a government, as a responsible government, a government that practices good governance, we want to ensure that stakeholder do the right thing. And there are issues sometimes when rice farmers dry their paddy on the road. Sometimes they come in conflict with the motorists, they come in conflict with pedestrians and things like this. So what we are doing, we are building these drying floors in places that are convenient to them, so that when they have their paddies to dry, they will go to these drying floors to dry these paddies. And it has been working because what we are doing, we are consulting with them before we build these floors. And this year we will see another 2 floors. We have another $60 million allocated for the coconut industry. This is very important. Coconut is a very lucrative crop around the world. And when you look now, coconut is very valuable. So last year we would have built 3 nurseries. We will build another 3 new nurseries this year again. 1 in Region 1. We will build in Region 5 and 1 in Region 10. But the point I am trying to make is that the coconut industry will be enhanced significantly in the next year. And we have seen already, that a number of private persons have embarked on coconut production. And we in the Ministry of Agriculture, through the Hope Coconut Estate, we have been making high value crop seed available for farmers around the country. We already seen the nursery of Bill at Karuni and other places in like Wakenham, we built one last. These things now people are going there to get their seed, the coconut seedling right there rather than to come to Mandripo. So you could see how we are enhancing the agriculture and diversify and enhancing the various sectors. We have another $69 million allocated to agro-processing in the country. So since we resumed government, since we went back into government in 2020, we have started the process of improving agro-processing. Because as a country that produces a lot of crops, we now also have to export not only the primary crops, we have to now export value-added crops. And this year we will see the completion of agro-processing facility in places like Region 9, St. Ignatius, places in Region 10, Watuka, places in Essequibo and Regina, Fort Wellington. And last year we would have started those projects, and this year we have money in the budget to procure equipment so that they can start the processing of these facilities. We have a new a joint venture in Blackbush Polder, where a private investor is working with us to set up another facility there. So agro-processing in our country will be a big thing for us. And if we have to continue to improve on our agro-processing facilities, then we have to have cheap electricity, because electricity is sometimes it be a challenge for us. And that is where the gas to shore pipeline will help us tremendously to have cheap electricity so that we can improve manufacturing and processing in our country.
All right, Minister, so as we wrap up this afternoon, is there any other thing that you may want
Well,
to
I want to say to the people of this country, as I said when I begin, that this is a budget that will transform our country. This is a budget that is comprehensive. This is a budget, as I said, will start the transformation of the new Guyana that we want to see, a Guyana that will develop And as we listen to the budget from the Minister of Finance, you see that the growth of this year will be tremendous. Although last year we were in a pandemic, we had a severe flooding, our economy grew by 19.1%. This year again, we are seeing that the growth is projected to be one of the highest in the world, right? And Guyana is on the right track. I think that now you're seeing optimism, you're seeing hope, you're seeing that kind of agility in the people's step in terms of moving forward. You're seeing economic activity across the country. You are seeing development right across construction sector booming. You see the other sectors booming. So generally in the country, you are seeing a hive of activities, and this budget will enhance that. You'll see economic activity right across, not only in one region, but right across the country. You'll see some of the sector will start to move tremendously aggressively to enhance the life of people. And this government, the PPP civic government, our aims, our objective is to ensure that we improve the lives of our people. And the commitments and promises that we have made in our manifesto, we are delivering on it. And you could see, I could go through, we have seen an increase in old age pension, we have seen an increase in the public assistance, we have seen an increase in the school uniform voucher, we have seen an increase in the Because We Care program. All those things help people and bring in disposable income in the hands of people across the country. So this year will be a very exciting year. As I said, this year will be the year of the transformation process that will move Guyana to the future.
All right, Minister, we want to say thank you so much for your time, and also thank you to our viewers. See you again next time.
It was my pleasure.